Supposed to be going live. What's up, y'all? It's Brian and Fearless back with the Trial and Error podcast. We had to sort a couple things out and called a quick audible about what our topic of the day is. So today we're going to talk about why a lot of these social media influencers that you see, and even celebrities and stuff, really it really ain't like that in terms of money and things like that, and how people got social media and celebrity twisted. Um, and we'll explain some of the thought process behind that, and also what our original topic is and why we pivoted off of it. So we're going to go ahead and roll the intro, and we're going to get into it. All right, let me go ahead and set my privacy settings, and then
oh yeah, I got to do it too.
So on the Trial and Error podcast, we talk about failing your way to failure. And one of the concepts behind the failing your way to failure thing is you learn from other people's mistakes, right? And so initially we were going to do a podcast about the over perfectionism trap and how people overanalyze from the beginning and stuff. But I feel like that's been a really, really recent topic for us. And so we have a little bit more to say on that, but we want to add a little bit more depth to that conversation. And so that's kind of where we are. So Fearless and I were talking off air, and he was talking about watching a video from Anton Daniels, I should say. And it's something that goes in line with what we've been talking about, is how a lot of these social media influencers and a lot of people got the game twisted. They think that being a celebrity means that you have money, and it means that you are rich or famous or everything. And so a lot of people are building these massive social media audiences without any business model underpinning it, and they have millions of followers and are still scraping hand to mouth. Meanwhile, people have small channels and are getting paid off those small channels. I have a small YouTube channel. I have a really small micro YouTube channel, and it's brought me clients. And so that's what we're talking about. And so we're going to talk about a little of the business. We're going to talk about a little bit of the fallacies around celebrity status and some of the misconceptions people have on the outside looking in. That sound about right, Fearless?
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. So another thing real fast before we really get started, I wanted to apologize to you. And I wanted to do it on air, kind of like we are doing it now.
Mhm.
And the reason is because it's been brought to my attention that mainly last week, for instance, it was whenever you were talking, I was off creating all kinds of stuff because when I talk to you,
Mhm.
when I'm listening to you, I get very inspired. Okay. And that happens, right? Which is so crazy because as a certified life coach and philosopher, you wouldn't think that certain people or situations would inspire me the way that they do, right? I've talked to you before about this. I'm like, dude, every time I talk to you, I feel inspired to just create something, create this, create that, this and the other, right?
Mhm.
And so as you were talking about this stuff last night, I was creating all kinds of stuff. And my friend was like, dude, that was really rude of you doing that because it didn't seem like you were paying attention to what Brian was saying. It seemed like, although I'm sure you were listening to everything, but to the viewer, they don't know that you're good at multitasking like that. So they're like, so she said to me, could you please, when he's talking, stop doing what you're doing and pay attention. So from now on, I'll write stuff down or whatever, but I will not be on my computer unless I'm showing you something or something like that. So I just wanted to say to you, in front of any and everybody watching, that I am sorry about that. That will not happen again. And if I am on my computer, I'll at least let you see my screen so you can kind of see what I'm doing or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So people don't think that I'm being um obtuse or being rude. So and thank you so much for that person that brought it to my attention because even when I was doing it, I was kind of thinking, nah, I should be all right. And again, it's you gotta be mindful of how you appear to other people when you're doing this. So I just want to say I'm sorry about that, and I will do better.
Okay, that and I didn't take it. I understand how this thing rolls. Like my mind will go and Fearless and I have discussed it off air. My ADHD will make me interrupt people. Like I will, and I try my best, but my ideas come out so fast. And so my version of that is it's the interruption. And
Hey, Jennifer.
it's not intentional. It's not me trying to belittle anybody or anything or cut them out, but it's just how my mind works. And so we are live television. I mean, that's really what it is. And so I understand. And so I accept it, but I understand too. And that's how we got to roll. I think one of the things is we got to do is figure out, because Fearless, you were just talking about it. How far along are you in your 100 days?
Today is day 60.
Okay. So that's day 60 of free life coaching, and you don't already miss 60 days if you haven't jumped in yet. We got
Jennifer popped in not too long ago, so she's getting the hopefully she's getting the benefits of it. But every time that we're done, I'll usually try to send people a quick cheat sheet on all the stuff that we talked about, and I try to color code it.
Yep.
And I number it. And the reason why I do that is because this isn't just about entertainment; it's about education.
Right.
And I love teaching people this stuff because it's helped me tremendously. And the reason why I make it like five to six, sometimes seven not titles, but color codes is because when you're stressed out, when you're thinking about this stuff, when you're looking at it, I want it to be something where you can look at it and then you can go straight down the list. Oh, okay, this is where I'm at. This is what I need to do. So she said, what did she say? She said, late to the game, but I'm into it and have been reading all the attachments you sent. Thank you. You're so much welcome. And if any of you guys are interested in any of the attachments that I send, do you mind if I screen share right quick?
Go for it.
Okay, I'm going to screen share. So I'm going to be on my computer.
Oh, you don't have to explain it. We got it, man.
No, I just want to be sure that people know, like, hey, this is kind of what I'm doing. Hold on, let me find my Ags Fearless. I have Ags. Here we go. I have a whole entire Ags Fearless library. So here I will go in to it now. Give me one sec.
And while you're pulling that up,
here we go.
Talk. All right. There we go.
Yeah. Cool. So last night we talked about here. Can you see this one?
Yeah, I can see it.
Now hold on. I may have to show you guys a different one. Give me a sec. PDF slides. Hey, can you see that? No. Here, so I'll stop sharing. I'll go back. I'll window. Okay, here we go. So this is what we discussed last night, and it's just a quick cheat sheet. Season 6, episode 59, the 6 steps to stay calm through chaos. So these are some of the things that I really want people to understand, that when you're going through some of this stuff, this is what we do.
Mm-hmm.
So, and here's the thing: they're interchangeable, which basically means that the first one may not necessarily be the one that you need to pay attention to. It may be the 7th slide. It may be, hey, don't take everything personal. And then it may be, what can we reframe in this? What can we identify with in here? What's controllable? What's not? Breathe, right? What's fact versus what's fiction? So there's a lot of these things that go into this, that as soon as something pops up, I just kind of want you to be able to look at it and kind of go from there, if that makes any sense.
Yep.
So, and that's kind of what I wanted people to understand. So everything that we talk about is it's not a thing that we're trying to get people to, we're not just talking about this stuff to be talking about it. Right. There's rhyme and reason of why we do what we do. or whatever. So yeah, so that I just wanted to kind of, put that out there.
Okay. And here's the thing. So on my end, I am a business and marketing coach. I specialize in working with business owners that have ADHD, help them get their social media and stuff in order and get their house in order so that they can put their social media to work for them without having to make themselves crazy. And so that's what I offer. And it always starts with the social media audit. I will go ahead and drop that in the chat so that you guys can, if you're interested, hit me up. And we could get that ball rolling. I host Unstuck sessions. Yesterday, I had a live stream talking about how I use AI and incorporated that into my workflow with creating social media and managing marketing for my business. And so that's what we have. One of the conversations that we need to have, and it's one that Fearless and I had off air. We're talking about how a lot of times things ain't really how they are. And what I mean by that is, a lot of times when we view social media and when we view people on social media, and in general, when we view celebrities, right? The assumption that we tend to make is this. We think that because they, and I'm talking about the influencer, because we know who they are, because we know who the celebrity is, they must be rich and famous and living life high on the hog and all this other stuff. And I'm going to tell you, and the actor strikes, like remember a couple years, like last year, I think it was when they had that big strike in Hollywood, the writers were on strike, the actors were on strike. Most actors, they have like a little pension thing, like screenwriters, there's a screenwriters guild and then there's the acting guild, right?
Okay.
Most actors and writers do not make enough to qualify for the pension plan. Qualify for health insurance through the guild. And so a lot of them have day jobs. Even some of the biggest name directors that you've seen in Hollywood, like they have day jobs. They'll shoot commercials during the day, right? And so what happens is we end up taking that to heart and thinking that these people have all this stuff going on. And they really don't. And the way it extends and the way it rubs is it extends to social media. The new game is social media, big, rich, popular social media influencer. Everybody's chasing that white rabbit, right? And what happens is people assume that because this social media dude has it popping, all of a sudden they are rich and famous and all this other stuff. That ain't how it works, y'all. And so what we're jumping on here to say is a lot of times the business acumen is failing. And the thing Fearless was referencing is talking about how some of these people who have millions and millions of followers are broke and living hand to mouth. And so the lesson is, and this goes to a bigger conversation about social media, and I think I mentioned it last week. A lot of times on social media, we are comparing our outtakes and mistakes to other people's highlights when we look at their social media, right? We compare our lives to these people that are showing the best moments of their life, and we're looking at it in our regular life.
Okay.
And invariably, that gets you with unrealistic expectations. It gets you looking at your house, and your house ain't big enough. Your car is falling apart. You ain't been on vacation. You can't afford to do X, Y, and Z. And you compare yourself to these people that are showing you the best moments of their life. They ain't telling you that car is rented. They ain't telling you that they couch surfing after they get back to the States. They ain't telling you any of that stuff. And
that's the what? How did you say that? Couch? Did you say couch surfing?
Yeah. So they ain't telling you that when they come back to the States, they don't have a place to live because they done spent all their money on vacation. And
oh wow.
And so they're not telling you these different things, and it's causing a weird stress because here's the crazy part. We do live in an era where literally anybody can get rich and famous. Well, not famous, not rich, but anybody can get famous, right?
Yeah.
That's the era we living in. You know, I've seen some of the most insipid stuff take somebody viral. That lady who was in the park calling that little black boy all kinds of slurs and everything, she ended up getting a measure of fame in the neo-Nazi side of social media. and almost became close to a millionaire off of donations from it. They ended up freezing all that stuff, but she got some celebrity based on that. So you can become a celebrity literally accidentally, but people got it twisted because they think that just because everybody knows your name, they think that that means that there's money and stability and even the a peace of mind that comes with it. And that ain't true, right? And so I'm interested to see what your take on that is as a life coach in terms of how people's perception of what other people's lives are collide with how people's lives really are. Does that make sense, Fearless?
Mhm. I mean, well, yeah, it's a comparison trap in general. One of the things when you were talking that popped into my head was a quote from Nipsey Hussle. I think it was on the marathon when he said, "Starving artists, just be happy with your fame."
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, so that's kind of what you're talking about, though, is that whole thing of like, yeah, I'm a starving artist, and people think that you're supposed to be a starving artist, and they think that you're supposed to be a starving artist because that's how people so-called, make their dues or whatever.
Right.
And when you sit down and you read that book by Amy McNee, who says, no, that's not accurate at all. People are making billions of dollars off of your art.
Mm-hmm.
They're just not telling you about it because then they would have to pay you for your art. And it's so funny how we just give this stuff away. And the reason why, like, I gladly give away my art is because I understand that where it comes from. I make the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And before I made it, one of the things, hold on, I'm gonna take this stack thing off. I had this stack thing on my computer because I have an Apple, and they have this new thing where they put all of your pictures, all of your documents, all your photos in like one thing. Man, it works well until you need to get into it.
Right.
Then it's horrible. But one of the things that I can honestly tell you, hold on, let me see if I can go into it, because I really want you guys to kind of see what I'm talking about. Hold on, let me go into screen share right quick. My window. Okay. So do you guys see all of these? All of these like keynotes? Do you see all these?
Yep, I see them.
I made all of these years ago. Like years ago. And the thing is hold on, let me see. Let me see if I can find one. That's a big one. I don't know. I had a whole bunch of these things. Anywho, but my point is, oh wow, that's not even my stuff. Okay. Anyway, my point of the matter is simply that I created all these years ago, and I didn't do anything with them.
Mm-hmm.
So my point is that every single one of these things here, I got one for you. Every single one of these things are they're mine. Right. So here, I wanted to show you. So these are every single one of the things that I talk about, or whatever is I've been creating these, and I don't know. The last time I updated this was last year, but I wrote this probably 10 years ago. And so majority of the things that we're talking about, assuming that nobody's coming to save you, I wrote that again when I was sleeping on my friend's couch. Accept things as they are, right? And stop attaching yourself to. I know these things because this is what I was going through at the time. So create your own merit. When you were talking about that Hollywood stuff, that was actually about that same exact time that this was there. So I was reflecting based on what I saw. Hollywood, build your own stuff. Stop looking for other people to justify and validate who you are. Anytime that, like I'm just reading off what I wrote here.
Mhm.
Anytime that we look for somebody else to validate us, we're also giving them that same power over us,
Right.
right? So everything that you were just talking about is the same shit that I talk about now. Everything. There's nothing different. And the reason why I could talk about this stuff so freely and I love talking about this stuff is because I went through it.
Right.
And that's something that I don't have to I don't have that comparison. I don't live in that comparison trap because I got my own story.
Right.
And when you have your own story, when you have your own situation, you don't have to worry about remembering somebody else's stuff because it ain't yours to remember, it's mine.
Right.
I know this story because it's my story. And so when I'm creating all of this work, you know what I'm saying? I have Chat GPT help me out with a lot of it.
Right.
But I already wrote 90%, or excuse me, 80% of what I actually have ChatGPT write out for me. I just found yesterday, what are the 5 points that I really want to touch on when I'm working with people? And because I like to think in systems, I looked at it from a ABC type of situation.
Mm-hmm.
So the first part um, was accountability, acceptance, stuff like that, acknowledgement, right? The B was boundaries. The C was clarity, comparing ourselves to stuff, low confidence. That's baby C. The D was the doubt that we have, which is self sabotaging and this and the other. The E was for excuses that we make or
Right.
lack thereof of experience. So I'm like, dude, as long as I stay within my bubble of the people that I could work with almost anybody. And if you notice, I don't really discuss our dreams, goals, and aspirations at that point. And the reason why I don't is because I, here's the thing, I don't care what your dream, goal, or aspirations are. I don't care what problem you have that's preventing you from achieving it. Don't
Right.
care. My thing is this. At the end of the day, depending on what it is, I said depending on what it is, right? I can help anybody accomplish anything, right? But there is a but dot dot dot.
Mm-hmm.
If with if whatever's in here isn't conducive of what's gonna go on out there, this is not gonna work.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it's one thing to sit around talking about, well, yeah, I want to become a multimillionaire and this, that, and the other. I'm not telling you that you can't do it. Of course you can. But the problem is with that is what happens if that's not a part of who you are?
Right.
Well, what happens if you want to be in marketing advertising, but your thing is carpentry,
Mhm.
right? So you're gonna sit there and kill yourself over something that you don't give a shit about because it makes a crap ton of money. And oh, but the problem is that it's not carpentry. The problem is it's not marketing. The problem is that you haven't actually sat down and discovered who and what you are. Once we've discovered that part, then we can start working on the outside stuff. It doesn't to me, to somebody else that might be different. But if this part in here isn't secure first,
Mhm.
that whatever you accomplish out there, you're gonna end up giving it away.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna lose it, or it's gonna be taken away from you because it's not aligned. It is not congruent with who you are. And that's what happened to me. That's ended up when it comes to imposter syndrome and all that shit. I lost everything because of the things that I just named off. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And I was successful. I was successful as shit. Own business, doing over $1 million a year. Half that time for me, right?
Right.
But I built that shit only to lose everything, to end up sleeping in my car, to at that point to find myself.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? So when it comes to talking about a lot of this stuff, I know it well because I've been there. I've done that, right? But I've lost so much stuff that I'm like, okay, you know, when I'm working with people, the here's the thing. If you really want to know what I do, it's three things. Three things. Number one, I I train people in I want to say this as nicely as I can because one day we are going to monetize everything that we do.
Mhm.
So I want to be very nice as I say this. Here's the thing. At the end of the day, I train people in principle. Okay,
Okay.
that's number one. Number two is I tell stories,
Okay.
right? Number three, I offer perspective, a unique perspective, but perspective. I only do three things to get you from point A to point B. That's it. I like to keep shit simple.
Hmm.
Like, you know what I'm saying? That's life for me. I love simplicity. I love it because simplicity, for the most part, means you will consistently keep following through with it.
Right.
The more difficult or convoluted something is, the less likely you're actually going to do it. The more simple it is, the more easier it is to do. So getting people to master the mundane, to master the boring. As a father, that's what I tell my son on a consistent basis. He's like, Dad, I don't want to do this. I said, son, I know you don't. But honey, do you want to be wealthy when you get older? Yes. Do you want people to depend on you? You say you want to be a therapist, right? Say yes. I said, do you want people to believe anything that comes out of your mouth? Yes. Do you want people to listen to you? Yes. Then master the simple shit. That's it. And that's kind of a long way of going around the question that you asked me, which was, what do I think about this whole comparison nature
Hmm.
and culture that we live in right now? That's kind of what it is because we're consistently looking at other people, judging and judging ourselves and not holding boundaries,
Hmm.
not with other people, but within ourselves and accepting who and what we are
Right.
and acknowledging what we bring to the table. And we don't do that. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. Sorry,
So
sorry for being so loquacious with that, but that's what I do though. I'm a
well,
storyteller.
I get it. So here, and the thing is, I'm take a smaller part of what you're saying. A lot of times when I'm sitting there talking to people that are in business or with their own brand and stuff, and I start talking to them about social media and leveraging audiences and building audiences. Invariably, the conversation goes to, "Well, I don't want to be an influencer. I don't want to have this big, huge audience." I'm like, I don't want that for you either, because
I don't want that for you either.
that's not what you're aligned with. That's not what that's not what our purpose of utilizing these platforms is aligned with. And if you have too big of an audience, that can actually be a detriment because they're not going to connect with your brand message and who you really are as a person behind the scenes. Most A lot of people, I'm not going to say most, but a lot of people will sit down and look at like Mr. Beast, who's like I think the biggest YouTuber in the world or one of the biggest
Mhm.
YouTubers, and that ends up becoming their benchmark for what it looks like to be successful on social media. What if I told you that being successful there's people who are successful on social media with 0.0001% of their followers, but they monetize their audience because they're so in sync and in line with what their audience wants that um they're so in sync and in line with what their audience wants that they're speaking directly to their needs and their
Hey,
and what they
son.
want. And so that's kind of where I'm going with it. And I think a lot of times people think that when I start talking this social media stuff, oh, that means I got to have this millions of followers. No, you don't.
Mm.
You need maybe you need 1,000 followers. I'm making money with 200 followers on one of my YouTube channels
Mm.
because it's aligned with what they want. And I'm giving them stuff that they want and then connecting them to the resource that can provide it.
That's
And
it.
so that's as simple as it's got to
That's it.
be. A lot of times we think, and it goes to a bigger problem I have with how we talk about wealth in the society. We make this magnificent assumption that if somebody has $1 million, that means they are a brilliant genius that we can never aspire to be. And more times than not, a lot of wealthy people have, there's going to be outliers who are amazing and have these high IQs and everything. But more times than not, when it comes to doing business, having a high IQ can actually hurt you. Because you
start overthinking everything.
It's something I struggle with because I overanalyze every step and every move, and it can limit business opportunities. And we assume that we assign wealth to a lot of different things in society that it really shouldn't be assigned to. And so we assume that this famous person is smarter than we are. They know something we don't. No. A lot of times it was, well, Uncle was some producer somewhere, or Uncle had some business somewhere and put them on. Sometimes they did do it on themselves. They did do it by themselves. But if you ask them how they did it, they wouldn't have a fucking clue because they just went ahead and did, and things lined up for them. And so when we have these conversations and look at people on social media and look at these influencers and stuff, especially with kids see, a Kai Cenat, they see I Show Speed. They see these guys that have these massive followings, and they don't understand the amount of work that goes underneath it. Mr. Beast literally said, people see me on screen. They don't see how my entire life is built around anxiety.
Yes.
And
we was just talking about that.
Sleepless nights. He's like, I live and breathe everything about this. You don't need to do that. I wreck my life with this. I wreck my relationship with this because this is my obsession. C.T. Fletcher said, he used to, if you don't know, I'll send you the video for C.T. Fletcher because it will, if I play it, it might get us demonetized. Anyway, I might go ahead and roll it anyway. But C.T. Fletcher has an entire thing called F Impossible, right? And he is a power lifter. He's a bodybuilder and stuff. And he basically talks about the world thought that, matter of fact, I'll play that. I'll go ahead and play it. But anyway, he talks about how people thought things were impossible until somebody actually went out and did that thing. And he also talks about the concept of a magnificent obsession. He said he was magnificently obsessed to have the biggest biceps in Compton. And so he trained every single day. Christmas, wedding anniversaries, New Year's, he was in the gym training for that specific outcome. And his take is, if you want to be successful, you have to be magnificently obsessed about it. Most people do not have that level in them, and that is perfectly fine.
1 second, buddy.
Yeah. And so it's perfectly fine for them to have this level of locking in on their goal, and they're willing to throw away chunks of their life to obtain it. A lot of people ain't got that, and it's okay that you don't have that. We talked about hustle culture bros a couple weeks ago, and that hustle culture thing. That's the hustle culture mentality. We want to believe that we're willing and in line with making these huge sacrifices of our lives, and it ends up wrecking some people because they aren't really prepared to do this. And so I'm saying all that to say this. Most people aren't built to have the level of success that these super high-end people have. And they're not willing to wreck their lives, interpersonal relationships, mental health, physical health, any of that other stuff to attain it. And that's fine. The outliers are driven to do that. And there's nothing wrong with them. But there's nothing wrong with you if you are satisfied with where you are. Now, with the social media front, and I'm going to jump back into, because I've gone all off of my topic and everything else. Okay. There's this illusion of fame that comes along with it. That fame, and specifically celebrity, now social media fame, that creates or generates financial stability. I'm here to tell you that unless you are one of the top YouTubers or TikTokers or whatever, the money you get paid from ad revenue is eclipsed by your daily bills. And no matter how big you build your audience, it requires a bigger time investment and more equipment and all that other stuff. And so, unless there's a business model underpinning everything you're doing, just the idea of I'm gonna make a channel and get a bajillion followers and get a bunch of ad revenue, that model is not viable for most of the people on the planet. It may be viable for a 17 or 18-year-old who has no other bills.
Right.
But
yeah, who has absolutely nothing to do but make videos
right
all day long.
And there's a lot of other stuff, especially with YouTube. If you're talking about specific topics, you get paid more. If you're talking about specific products, you get paid more. But if you're just on there for shits and giggles and doing entertainment, the money is like, that's kind of a dime a dozen kind of thing. You know, if you're talking about, you know, selling high-end websites to specialized professionals who do marketing, or medical equipment where there's a bigger return on people buying stuff, that's where the money is on YouTube. And most people do not have the technical ability to get on and talk about why this piece of medical equipment is better than that piece of medical equipment, or why this specific camera's specs are better than this other person's specs. And so the money isn't in, and this is the video I sent Fearless this morning. The money is not in that side of it. It's in teaching people, giving them information that they can change their lives and that they can use.
You know, it's so crazy. I was watching matter of fact, the video that you sent me with the Arlen Hamel, whatever her name is. And I like her channel. I read both of her books, great books. But she was interviewing Roland Martin. And Roland was talking about when he got started, how he got started and this and the other. And he was talking about that he said the biggest problem is that most people are trying to start with $100,000 budget if you only got $5,000.
Right.
Or you only got $1,000. So he said, no, you start with what you can from where you are. He said that there was one camera that he wanted. That camera was $60,000 for one camera.
Yep.
He said now we got like 4 or 5 of them.
Right.
But when we started, we couldn't afford nowhere near that. So what we did, we got not the cheapest. We just got the stuff that we could use at the moment. And that was kind of it. So like right now, the camera that I'm using is called Osmo 3, right? Y'all know how I know about that? Because Brian told me about it the first day I met him. Correct?
Right.
First day I met the dude, he was telling me about it because he was walking around with the Osmo 1. And he said, man, the Osmo 3 does so much more. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. And now I'm talking to you using the Osmo 3. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to show you something. I have more than just one camera here. I also have another here. Matter of fact, let me show you. See that? See how I just switched everything up? So that's a camera up there, and I also have my Osmo here, right? So again, it's one of those things that if you wanted to, hold on, where? Do you remember how to add? Because I know they have another thing on there where you can like actually add another camera. I don't care, but anyway,
it's under present. So click on present, and then it says extra, and it says extra cameras.
Extra camera. Okay. So then I have this one plus that one. So boom here. So we have 2 different cameras, one right here, one up there. And the reason why I'm
oh, your mic went out. Let me switch back. Let me add this one to the stage.
All right, am I back now?
Yeah, you're back.
All right. Sorry about that. Here, I'm gonna go back to my Osmo. The reason why I wanted to, man, dang it.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay, am I good?
Yep.
Okay, so the reason why I wanted to show you guys that is very simply you do whatever you can for whatever you got,
Mm-hmm.
right? So he was also talking about this film director who shot a whole movie using an iPhone 7, two of them.
Mm-hmm.
He used two iPhone 7s to shoot a whole entire movie. So a lot of us sit around, we think that you need this, you need that, you need all this stuff to get started, as opposed to just getting started.
Mm-hmm.
Like, stop talking about it and just jump in and do it. And again, as a life coach, that's why I teach those principles. That's why I teach stories. That's why I offer a different perspective, because my objective is to make it so that whatever your dream goal or aspiration is so simple to just do it. That we take something that's so big and we make it so minute that it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I got this. That's
Well,
it.
and
And just putting one foot in front of the other. Go ahead, my guy.
like right now, I am using, because I switched out my Osmo because I had to use it last night to record, and so I am using a camcorder that is like 11 or 12 years old. That's what I'm using right now. Connected to
And you can go to Walmart now and go get a camera for like 200 that could damn near do the same stuff that we're talking about doing right now.
And in previous weeks, this is the webcam I used. I got it for like $70. So if you see some of the older ones, this is what I was using. And I can't get it to focus because it's an old camcorder. But yeah.
I mean, yeah, I get it.
And
But I
so,
mean, yeah, you use what you can.
and
You
so,
do what you can. So if you got your phone and you need better a mic, boom, $20 at Walmart, $20 at where's the other one? Target. Plug it in, go sit in your car, plug your stuff in your phone, put your stuff up and talk.
right. And I think
Just
a lot
talk.
of times people end up overestimating what they need to get started, but then
Overthinking it.
they end up, like I said, we go back into the celebrity trap. Like if we look at like Marquez Brownlee, right? When we see MKBHD, because that was who I wanted to be when I first started on the YouTube journal.
I can see you doing that too. I can see you doing that.
And he started out simple, like he was just reviewing old cameras and stuff, and he was using an old camera that his parents bought him. But he leveled up, and like one of the studio tours he did a couple years ago, he's like, "Yeah, this is my $80,000 red camera that I use to shoot, product videos and like if he's doing cars and stuff like that." But then he also has lower end stuff. It's all about how you utilize the tool, but it's also about the audio. It's also about the story you're telling. It's also about a lot of other things. And we attribute people's success to they must be doing something way better than we have. More times than not, your video, it may be, and this is where I will push back with the Mr. Beast thing. Your video may be just as good as the top end of it, but since you haven't really built that base of people that mess with you and can validate what you know, people don't really care because they don't necessarily believe you. And that's fine. You build your credibility through trial and error, realizing what your real voice is. But a lot of times fame doesn't equal business savvy. And we end up, now I don't want to go into the celebrities that went bankrupt because that's not always what it seems. You know what I'm saying? If you have $100 million and then one day you wake up with $1 million and you broke, you still doing better than I am, but you broke. Okay. And so I don't want to get into that. Well, the celebrity went bankrupt because a lot of times bankruptcies are used to restructure, protect people's wealth and stuff like that. What I will go into is a lot of these people that blow up and some of the stuff that they get, some of the crap that they get when they blow up is crazy because people think, oh, because you're famous, because everybody knows who you are on social media, that when you ask for help for donations for somebody's house that burned down, well, why can't you just cover it? My check ain't like that, bro. I'm using my audience to get more attention to what we're trying to do. Even as business owners, Fearless and I know Fearless probably encountered this. I know I've encountered this. A lot of times when people find out you run a business or own a business, they think, oh, you got it like that. Y'all don't understand some of the sleepless nights business owners have, bro. Where you sitting there trying to figure out, oh, how am I going to make rent, or how am I going to do X, Y, and Z? And so we make assumptions just because somebody has a specific status that their life looks a certain way, and it ain't like that. Now, the fame doesn't always equal business savvy, and I go back to this. Just because somebody has 1 million followers doesn't mean that they have a business model underneath that. They're just doing a thing. Sometimes you can have 2 million followers and it's still a hobby. You ain't put no business, you ain't put a business structure underneath it. And then sometimes you could have 150 followers and have a rock solid business strategy that pays your bills.
Yep. You know, if you don't mind me kind of interjecting,
Yep.
That's kind of one of the things when back in the day, I used to go to the Small Business Administration over in IWCC, which is Iowa Western Community College. And I used to be up there at least 2-3 times a week, meeting with the assistant director up there. And one of the things that we talked about on a consistent basis were the fact that there were people up there that had that type of job elsewhere, because they're all connected to each other, that had no business acumen whatsoever.
Right.
Not only no business acumen, they've never started a business. They never ran a business. Hell, most of them have never even been managers of a company. Their degree got them jobs where their education got them a job where their experience did not. They were lacking profusely, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I was always scared, because I'm like, man, like I showed you guys, I was making all of these presentations and I kind of wanted to just do webinars because I'm like, dude, but here's the thing. I love public speaking too. Like I love that stuff. I would say more like public education, not speaking, because educating, I can sit and talk to you. You can disagree with me and I can bust your ass in front of everybody, respectfully speaking.
Right.
Right. But if you're just giving a speech, then who cares? Right. And now there's a lot of speakers that are amazing, but I'm an educator. Right. I like to talk. I like to give you the information, and I like to say things that's going to make you cringe a little bit. Like, I don't agree with that. Perfect. Why do you not agree? And then we can kind of talk about that. But one of the things that scared me about that made me nervous about that was he said, Fearless, why are you not putting this out there? Why you come in here every week? You want me to look at your stuff? He said, this is better than most of the stuff I've seen from people who come, who they just do this for a living. This is better than that.
Right.
So why are you in here? And because of that personal merit that I'm like, man, and nobody's going to give me a chance. Nobody's going to give me that. Basically, I had the lack of experience to produce my stuff. I didn't know who to go to. I didn't know what to talk about. I didn't know that in social media, it's not just about building up your stuff. Right. You have to have a crowd. You got to have people already fucking with you to see your stuff.
Right.
And that's the point that a lot of these YouTubers never really talk about. Oh, all you got to do is just make it. What? That's like, I want you to think about it like this. How many people do we know that are great bakers, that are great cooks? We know a bunch of people. Now, how many people actually want to start a business doing it? You probably know a couple.
Right.
How many people actually market their stuff to other people to let them know what they're doing? Not many.
Right.
Not many. So again, and let's just say that you just started Facebook and you don't have that many people on there. So the only people that are going to see your stuff is the people that are already on your page. Right. And most of the time, I got 4,500 subscribers. But as you look at, or friends on Facebook, right? But here's the thing. You know how many people actually show up to my Facebook and my Ask Fearless stuff every night? 0.2%. 0.2% show up. every single night, without fail, every night. 0.2%. Motherfucker, not even 2% show up.
Right.
It's 0.2%. So I may have 9 people there every night.
Right.
Every night. Faithfully. Every single night. Out of 4,500. Come on, man.
And let me add a layer to this, y'all, because here's the thing. On social media, more times than not, no matter how big your audience is, maybe 3%, less than 3% are going to see everything that you post. So if you post it once, maybe 3% of your audience is going to see it at any given time, because there's so many moving pieces when it comes to how algorithms work, and how they don't work, that it's almost impossible to get your entire audience engaged at the same time. Without paying for it. I've done it one time, and this was we created a fundraiser for one of our kids. I run co-own a basketball training business, and one of the brothers of one of our kids got into a bad car accident, and we wanted to help raise money for the family. And so one of the things we did was we created a fundraiser and kind of crowdfunded money to help offset some of the hospital bills. That was literally the only time that I've ever seen Facebook take a post that I created, it ungated, and show it to the entire audience at the same time.
Oh, wow.
And we hit our goal within less than 8 hours. And it was like $10,000 or something like that.
Okay.
But we had like 80,000 views and all these shares and everything. And it's because for whatever reason, whatever the formula was, Facebook said, all right, we're going to show this to everybody.
Okay.
And so I think one of the problems is people, like, it goes back to the validation piece of it. Like, specifically like with you, it's not an indictment or anything negative about people showing up. Like, it's not a negative thing. It's a matter of the fact that only a percentage of your audience is actually seeing your stuff at any given time. And that's why I say it's a pretty, social media is a pretty poor way to determine how people engage with you, how people value you,
or whether you're successful or not,
right?
Based on how many people view your stuff or whatever. I mean, yeah, I was just watching a guy this morning talk about, I have 3 million subscribers and I'm broke.
Yeah.
He said, I got 3 million subscribers and I'm broke. One of the things that Amber Rose said back in the day, she said, I am more famous than most people will ever be. Even these other entertainers, I'm more famous than them, but I was broke.
Right.
And she said, fame does not equal money at all. So I had to build something. I had to get, and again, sometimes, building your own stuff or teaming up with somebody else and getting those contracts going, that helps as well. But at the end of the day, you want to build something of your own.
Right.
Building, for me, building these 100 episodes like helps me out tremendously or whatever, right? Like it helps me tremendously because it's not gonna pay for anything at this present moment of time. But a year or 2, 3 years, 5 years down the road, shit, that's what I'm counting for. I'm not counting for this year or the second year or the third or the fourth. I'm counting for year 5. That's what I'm counting for.
Right.
You got to remember, I was so scared to get on camera and talk my stuff. And I still got to actually talk myself into doing it because I want to start doing, and I'm probably, now that I say it, I'm probably just going to do it. 15-minute recaps on what we discussed the night before. And again, just real quick, I don't know if they'll be shorts or how I'll do. I'll probably get with you, get some coaching, and then just push it out. But I think I want to do like 15 minutes with Fearless or whatever, like a recap of whatever we discussed the night before.
Right.
And because everything I do is based on a structural system. So we can talk about what we talked about last night. Here are some of the steps that we talked about. If you want to watch, the whole thing, slide on over to Axe Fearless episode, blah, 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 blah. Go watch it. Let me know what you think. And then kind of go from there.
Right.
So yeah, no, I think that whenever you say that you're going to do something in this, I don't think that you can consistently keep saying I'm successful based on how many people see it. I think that you're successful based on the people that it has impacted.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because 1,000 people can see your shit and nobody does anything.
Right.
But if I only have 9 or 10 people that come every single night, and 7 out of the 10 are doing everything that I talk about doing every single night, dude.
Right.
That I'll take that any day of the week than the 1,000.
Right.
Like I'll think about that. I will take those 5 to 10 people that come every single night who are doing what I talk about doing every single night, who's a part of a community that we all fuck with each other now.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take that any day of the week.
Right.
Than 1,000 people who just sit, watch it, don't say nothing, don't interact, and ain't trying to do anything that you talked about doing.
Well, and
I'll
that's
take them any day of the week.
And that's having an engaged audience that messes with you. This is aligning with people that align with you. And so I'd rather grow a slow audience, like you said, of people that mess with me and people that identify with me than a bunch of people that have no connection or engagement or involvement with me.
No.
And I think a lot of times people get too caught up in that I'm popular, I'm famous and everything. I was in high school, I was one of the kids that knew everybody knew me, but I wasn't a popular kid, if that makes sense. And I didn't necessarily want to be the popular kid. That wasn't how I rolled. And so for me, popularity doesn't really mean a heck of a whole lot. It just means that there's just more people watching you and you have more people that may not be aligned and rooting for your success. And I struggle with it with my kids. Like my daughter is into I have this friend group and that friend group, and we're in the friend chat and all this other stuff. I'm like, there's too many people in the circle for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you do it. I couldn't necessarily have that many people in my circle, and I got to listen to all these people. And apparently it's like you don't even like some of the people that are involved in this. So why are you in a place where you have to constantly interact with them? I'd rather have 1 or 2 solids and 3 or 4 people that mess with me than have 15 people that know who I am. And so I think we have this hyper fixation on popular. And I wonder if it is a social thing that comes from school. Yeah, I wonder if it's a social thing that just comes in general, where you want to be popular and stuff like that. And people attribute good things with popularity. I don't know. But I think that what comes with it is there's this pressure to maintain the image. And then people don't see that the maintenance of that image is draining in and of itself for people that are invested in it.
Mm-hmm.
And you end up chasing the clout instead of focusing on stuff that actually brings money in the door. We kind of see it where Ye is kind of turned into this clout monster where he will say anything to get people to react to him. And it's almost like a little kid where it doesn't matter if it's positive or negative attention. That's what little kids do. That's what kids do a lot of times, where they don't care if it's positive or negative attention. They just want people looking at them. And so you turn into this clout monster where everything is revolving around people looking at you or paying attention to you. And the substance of what you're presenting goes by the wayside.
Gotcha.
And so tying it back to the social media stuff and the stuff for business owners and even people that just want to grow a community of people that are like-minded and you want to deal with them. Speak to your audience and have them meet you where you're at. You don't need to stretch yourself to go chase down people. You want people that are going to mess with you regardless.
Right. And to add on to what you just said, I do think that you, like you said, like speak to them, but let them come to you, and then well, let them meet you where you are. But I think that like in the educational field of where I am and with the training, I, I if this is where I'm at and you come to me,
Hmm.
but you're down here, I can't teach you from here.
Right.
At that point now I need to come down to meet you where you are,
Right.
bring you up with me or whatever. So if everything that we talk about, like I said, the first thing that I teach or I train, I teach principles.
Right.
Like that's number one. That's I teach principle before anything else. Principles are just all kinds of different systems, strategy, structure, this and that. That's what I teach first. And I teach that by telling certain stories, right? And then from there, I offer a perspective based on what we're already doing.
Hmm.
And perspective, for the most part, to me, is just connecting the dots. That's all.
Right.
I connect dots where you don't see them. And that's all reframing is. That's what perspective is in general. It's seeing things that you're not seeing that's right in front of your face. Right. But being that I've been doing this for years.
Hmm.
So if there's and so if a person says to me, man, I've tried A, B, and C, okay, but I also did D and E, and I could say, well, you still got 22 or 18 letters left in the alphabet.
Hmm.
That's a way different way of looking at things. Like, okay, I didn't even think about
Right.
that. One of my favorite stories that I talk about is Maxie Filer out of Compton, California. Took the California State Law exam for the first time in 1966, I believe,
Hmm.
and he didn't pass it until 1992. 25 years later, he took that thing 2 years every year for 25 years, and he failed it 47 times. Finally passed it on his 48th time. He spent over 20 some $1,000 in testing fees, drove everywhere that they were having this test at, and
Yeah.
refused to give up. And so when I'm looking at my dreams, my goals, my aspirations, that's the bar that I set.
Right.
That is the standard that I set for myself. So it's not, I don't have to be a 25 years life period. For me, it could be how many times did you try this? Well, I tried 7 times. Okay, perfect. Looks like you got fucking 41 more to go.
Right.
Right. Now, if I hit that 50%, then you can stop. Right. But until then, you don't. When it comes to making videos, I don't know who it was that said it, but he said, you need to make at least 100 videos. If this is what you want to do, be willing to make at least 100 videos off top. Right. And you're probably not going to get any views either.
Hmm.
It's not about the views. It's just to see how consistent are you? Would you be consistent to shoot 100 videos? Now, I took that and I ran with it, right? I mean, most people would say, all right, well, yeah, I can shoot 100 videos. I'll shoot, 2 a week.
Hmm.
Brian would tell you, what did you tell me? You said, Fearless, what you've done in this very short period of time is what most people would do in a year.
Right.
You've done that in this amount of time or whatever. You got like a year's worth of presenting in just like what where we're at today is tomorrow it's today is 61 days.
Right.
So I have in 2 months what some people takes them a year to do. A year. I ain't nervous about being on at all. I get those butterfly, feelings about getting started. But I've made over 50 different presentations. 50 of them. You could put me anywhere in this zone. Let's go. Mic me up and let's go.
Well, and so I'm a weightlifter, and so I lift weights. And one of the things that you use once you get to a certain point where you've done it for a number of years, you start using tonnage. And tonnage is so when you're counting your tonnage, you're basically taking the cumulative amount of weight that you've moved in a specific lift, right? and you add it up over a week, and that's what your tonnage is. And so, like, a couple days ago, I was deadlifting. I hit 505, and I did that 5 times, right? And so
You did stop. You did what?
505 pounds, and I did that about 5 times.
Deadlift, like bench press?
No, deadlift, picking it up off the floor.
Oh, okay.
And so, you know, and I'm working back up because the highest I got was it somewhere in the 620 or something like that. That was a couple years ago. And so I'm working myself back up to it. But you start tracking your tonnage, and your tonnage is the cumulative amount of weight that you've lifted on this specific lift. And that's a good way to track what your progress is, because it's just raw numbers. There's no feelings attached to it. Either I lifted this amount of tonnage this week or I did not. And if I did not, then I need to go back to the drawing board. Was it I just felt weak one day? Was I was being lazy? Whatever. But by going in and doing the reps, I'm teaching my muscles how to remember the movement. I'm teaching my body to feel comfortable. I'm teaching my hands to feel comfortable supporting over 500 pounds in my hands.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the stuff that's important is the reps. So what I was saying to you is you're getting your reps in. You're getting used to talking to the camera. You're getting used to pace and flow of the show and energy and topics and everything. You are getting the reps out. And by getting the reps, you also make your mistakes and you learn from your mistakes as you go. But if you make a mistake and you just keep that mistake in isolation and you never follow up on it, you just quit after that mistake, you never give yourself a chance to learn how to do it better, because you just quit on that rep. So if I go in and I did 595 last week, right? And I got that once. If I go in and miss 595 and then never try it again, then that's my ceiling. And I'm never going to learn. I'm never going to get past that again. And so what I was talking about was you're getting your reps in. And that's how I put it. You're getting the reps in. You've done 60 videos. Most people don't do 60 videos in a year or 2 years or in the entire lifespan of a channel.
Really? Now that's crazy to me.
You've done 60 videos. If you go to YouTube, YouTube is a wasteland of people that have done 1 or 2 videos, and then that's it. And sometimes somebody will catch lightning in a bottle, and that one video they drop will do 1 million, and then they never come back to it. Other times, some people will drop that one video, it'll do 1 million, and if they're more of an artiste, then they go back to the lab and start writing their next one, and it might be 6 months. It might be a year. Really? But these videos will sit out there and accumulate views. There's a couple of my favorite channels do that, where it may be months between uploads.
Really?
But they are more filmmakers than YouTubers.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so there's writing scripts and scenes and stuff like that. I think I've sent you Folding Ideas. He puts a lot of time and effort into each video. And so there might be 3 or 4 months. There might be 3 or 4 months between the videos, but these videos are doing huge numbers.
One second.
And so what I'm telling y'all is this: getting the reps in is hugely important. By stepping in and committing yourself to say, I'm going to do the repetitions and get the failure on me so I can get accustomed to what failing feels like, I can learn how to be better. But if you quit once you fail once, you're never going to get that lesson again. The window is closed. All right. We can learn from mistakes. We learn from our own mistakes. We can learn from mistakes of others. A lot of times learning from other people's mistakes is a way to fast track your success. If we only look at the successes that people have, no problem. If we're only looking at the successes people have, we're getting one side of the picture. If we only track where people have been successful, we need to look at what they failed doing. You need to go back. If you really want to be the YouTuber, then you need to go back and look at some of your favorite YouTubers' early videos that they don't want you to look at because they don't like them. But that's their formative years. That's where they started. That's where they started in the trenches. And then they learned through growing. I was fascinated by a video that FD Signifier did where he's talking about how to write video essays, how to become a video essayist. And
what is that?
So video essayists are people that do long form essays. So Folding Ideas kind of does a video essay, but like FD Signifier has done video essays about Black masculinity. He's done film analysis of the movie Bamboozled, and these are like 2-hour long jaunts. Like these videos are like 1.5 and 2 hours long, and they're essays, but they also have a video element where they're showing other clips of stuff and things like that, and there's edits and stuff like that. And he's talking about the grind of being a video essayist. He just hit 1 million followers, which is rare because one, he's kind of on the black leftist side of Twitter. He's a black video essayist, and he does talk about entertainment. He does talk about cultural analysis and stuff, but a lot of his stuff is also incarceration and stuff like that. Like he's like right before getting his PhD. So he's an educated dude. And a lot of his stuff was a little bit more dry, but he did an entire video talking about what it takes to be a video essayist. And he talks about some of his other passions. He's a football fan. He's competed. And for those that know video games, he's actually competed playing Tekken in national tournaments and stuff. And so he has other interests, but he knows, one, when he talks about football videos, they're going to do fewer numbers. If he just did a video that was just talking about racism and stuff like that, it may or may not do the numbers he wants. He knows that there's specific manosphere guys and outright racists that will engage with his content and drive his numbers. Like he has this level of awareness of the content he's putting out there. So if he puts out a football video, he knows that it's not going to do numbers. The only way he knows that is through repetition. He knows what to expect with each video. He knows that in order to keep my channel growing, I have to mix in like stuff about talking about, like he did his magnum opus up till this point is breaking down the entire history of Drake and Kendrick, and like going all the way back to Drake being born in the hood and kind of growing up in Canada and stuff, and all the way till now. And that's like his magnum opus. That's like one of his biggest videos.
Okay.
But he has gone through repetition. He knows what each video will do. And he talks about that stuff is important. And, creating stuff that aligns with what your audience is looking for. And so sometimes he does videos that are just for him. He's like, I know this video is something I wanted to get out. I don't necessarily care if it goes big, but I wanted to create this. And so you learn that through repetition. It's really, and if you're interested, I'll send you the video because he talks about like business about YouTube and stuff like that. But for a practical step for entrepreneurs, because I want to tie it back a little bit to business owners and at least on my end and stuff like that.
Okay.
For business owners, social media is your secret weapon. Gary Vee talks about it. I know people love or hate Gary Vee. Here's what I'm gonna tell you. Hit the point. The bar, the single biggest bar that he's dropped is we need to take advantage of this stuff while it's free.
Yes. Yeah.
That's a bar.
Yes.
Because
I agree. 100%.
Because it's a great leveler. Like it's the thing that allows small time people to become big time people, allows small businesses to access and hack the game and get access to these bigger markets because social media is free. And if you create the right content, people will connect with it.
You know what? And even with you saying that, I have what do I have? I have YouTube and I have the premium. So seems like when I watch like my kids or some of my sons thing or whatever, or somebody else's thing or whatever, and I see all those commercials, I'm like, dude, why you got all these commercials in here? And I forget that I've had it for so long that I didn't even know. I didn't even remember that YouTube came with that many commercials.
Right.
I'm like, good God. Right. But again, that's just me. That's how I see it. And I'm not trying to be facetious. I'm not trying to be funny or nothing. I'm just like, dude, who watches this shit with all these commercials?
I got two
That's
for you.
crazy.
I got two for
Go
you. So
ahead.
one, on that Roland Martin thing, he talks about how he thinks on the level of the video has to be over 8 minutes so that we can maximize commercial reels and commercial plays
Yes.
in the video.
That's
He
why
actually
people like shorts.
he actually talked about it, but then he said shorts are the things that drive viewers to watch longer form videos, and so he uses them as a tool. That's one. Two, listening to Alex Hormozi and somebody else mentioned this too. They're like, I don't use YouTube Premium and stuff because they are marketers. They write ads. And so in order to write ads, he must watch ads to understand the construction and deconstruct ads. And so I've done that. What is it? Was it Seabree Sabby? I think that's how his name is. He's created one of the most intriguing ads I've seen in decades. And it's on Facebook. The way that he does it, and he's a marketer, and he's I mean, his shit is successful. Bro has actually been on Shark Tank as an investor. That's not, and that's not hyperbole or anything. That's actual social proof, because you have to have money to get in the door there. But he has been hugely successful as a marketer, and one of his ads is a master class on how to do interruption marketing. Interruption marketing is ads during your video, ads during your Facebook scroll. That's interruption marketing.
Okay.
And his stuff is a masterclass because his ad is so intriguing. I sat there and watched I think it's like 6 or 7 minutes of it. And it just kept drawing you in. It was funny. It was engaging. It was it was vulgar at times, but it was hilarious. That's how he did it. And so those guys don't watch, they don't, they actually watch ads. I'm a marketer, I'm a copywriter, so I do watch ads and commercials and stuff to up my game and realize some of the underpinning analysis that comes from it in order to write compelling ad copy and things like that. But that's just because that's where I exist. And that's what my business is writing words. I mean, my business is called I Sell Words. I write words that sell. And so that's how that goes. So all that talking, all that other stuff, let's be realistic about it. As a business owner, if you have an audience that messes with you, that's engaged with you, and you're giving them stuff that they're interested in, that's the other side. You have to give them the stuff you're interested in, right? Like I talk about a lot of times. I watch videos about woodworking. I have no interest in woodworking. I watch videos about showing people rebuilding engines. I hate working on cars. I know how to do it. I hate working on cars. I absolutely despise it. I watch video because they interest me. I'm interested in them. A lot of times business owners assume that the things that are boring to you, the mundane details of your life, the mundane details of your day-to-day, people don't want to see. People are fascinated by this. They're fascinated by what you do on a day-to-day basis. It comes down to a point where with my business partner, Mo, I want to sit down. We're going to do a video about our day-to-day running this basketball training business. All the boring talks and all that stuff is going to get documented because there's an audience for it. People are fascinated by how things are made and how things happen. Okay. So when you're talking about content, if you teach people how to do what you do, you give them a glimpse behind the scenes, you're going to find an audience. If you provide value at every moment, if you provide value instead of trying to extract value, you're going to build an audience. And more times than not, a lot of people that have these huge followings, they're not necessarily providing anything aside from entertainment in that moment. There's no other additional value that they're adding. And entertainment's a value in and of itself, but that's not the path that's going to make, for a lot of people, that's not the path that's going to make this a viable thing. There are my daughter, I think she calls them rage baiting streamers.
Yeah, buddy.
Who go out there and just fuck with people.
Hey, I do not subscribe to any of that shit.
And like they'll go out and mess with people in public, and then when somebody attacks them for messing with them, then they're like, "Oh, it's a prank" and all that other stuff. But they've created an audience full of kids who think that that's the way that humans interact with one another. And when we're growing up, Fearless and I grow up, that is a fantastic way to get your ass beat. That's a fantastic way to instigate.
No, and not only that though, but I mean, no, let's take today, not back in the day. Let's take today. How many of these people have lost their lives
Yeah.
fucking with somebody because they didn't know it was a joke?
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, think about it. People lost their lives over that shit. People are in prison
Hmm.
for a long time because they didn't know that this whole thing was a joke.
Well,
Somebody lost it. Several people became been killed for that. Several people end up in prison for that shit.
yeah.
Some people have been end up maimed that you don't hear about in the news because they was out there filming thinking that this shit was funny, played
Hmm.
with the wrong person, and got ended up being paralyzed.
And one of the things is I know from I've managed people who are provisionally licensed. I've managed licensed therapists. I've managed, and I've done a lot of this as a bachelor level just because through job experience, right? In my old life. But I used to tell my workers, I said, when you start getting into people's primal emotions, the primal things that drive them, you are tapping into um, something that is so volatile that you may not be able to control what comes out of it. And a lot of times, the rage bait YouTubers are tapping into somebody's fear or their anger. You don't know where that can end up. You don't know what the destination is of that. And we have a generation of kids that watch those videos and don't understand real life consequences. And they see these people going out in public messing with people, and they think that that's how you get an audience. And it's really not. More times than not, it's people sharing it saying, look at this idiot. You're sharing it from look at this fool out here doing, messing. He's gonna get himself shot. We talk about that all the time. And so it is one of those things where that is another dark side of that celebrity, because a lot of some of the biggest YouTubers have built their entire career on outraging people. Jake and Logan Paul have built their career off of pissing people off. And I'm telling you now, for some of y'all, that ship has sailed. um, we've kind of crossed that threshold, and I forgot what they called it, where something used to be not socially acceptable until it crosses the window and then it becomes socially acceptable. We've crossed that window where stuff that used to not be socially acceptable is becoming a little bit more mainstreamed. And what's happening is you're seeing a lot of like neo-Nazis and other people that have kind of normally been a little bit on the fringes moving back into the mainstream. So there's really nothing you can do that's going to match the outrage that they can generate. And at the end of the day, you may be harming yourself, because at the end of the day, the shit you put on social media with your face on it is attributed to you forever. And
Forever.
the internet Wayback Machine exists. And even if you delete it, even if you purge your Twitter account, even if you try to hide it stuff,
Somebody else didn't delete it.
somebody else done
Somebody
saw
else
it.
got it.
And so,
No, and that's just it. Somebody else recorded it.
right.
So you can be like, nah, I purged it out. Whatever. But no, somebody else screenshotted it.
Right.
Somebody else recorded it. You can hit download on any video that you see. And I can download that video on my computer, and then I can put it on a flash drive so I will have it forever. Every video you see with Brian and I, he'll record it. He has a copy. StreamYard has a copy.
Yep.
I have a copy. Facebook has a copy. Twitch has a copy. YouTube has a copy.
Right.
So regardless of how many times you delete our video, it's saved in 5 or 6 different places.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
So, and the concept I was talking about is called the Overton window, right? So the Overton window refers to the range of ideas and policies that are considered politically acceptable and viable within society at a given time.
What's it called, the Overton window?
The Overton window. It's essentially a window of discourse where ideas within the window are considered mainstream and those outside are considered too extreme. And so
what is it saying, that one thing will actually slide into the other and vice versa?
As we start seeing more and more of it, the window shifts. Like, here's a great example. So I've been following a lot of, and so this is going to get political. So if you're into political stuff and you don't like what I say, you can bounce. Sorry, let's just skate. I don't care. I've been following because I'm a journalism major. That's what I went to college for, right? And so at the time I was writing in like around 2015, 2016, I was writing a political blog. that was tied to comic books and Black life and stuff like that. And I was following a lot of the rise of MAGA, alt-right, and all that other stuff. And a lot of it came from like video game boards and stuff like that. Okay. But there's a couple of personalities that I had my eye on. There was the Candace Owens, because at the time she was a liberal and blah, blah, blah. But Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes is a Nazi. Like, he's unequivocal in it. He is a Nazi, a neo-Nazi. He has crossed over into borderline mainstream. Like, there's a right-wing space where he's considered a commenter in addition to all the Nazi stuff that he says. The Overton window has shifted in regards to discourse of what's acceptable online. Because there was a time where if you were a neo-Nazi, you were limited to Stormfront, like Stormfront and stuff like that. Like I remember the Stormfront blogs and stuff like that. You were limited to specific spaces. Now we're starting to see clips of him on news outlets and being invited to shows. So the Overton window has slid a little bit to embrace him on the edges.
So if they're, sorry to interrupt you, but if they are inviting him on, it almost seems like they're inviting him on not just for his views, because no one gives a shit about that. Mm-hmm. I think that they're inviting him on for rage baiting, because other people will see that he's on there and start saying stuff that they're going to be upset about or agree with or whatever.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, and one of the components of propaganda, like this is how propaganda works. So the propagandist doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they go on the show and the host embarrasses them or discredits them. What matters is the fact they got on the show and reached a broader audience, because there's somebody out there that agrees with what they're saying.
Yeah.
So by even being invited into the space to communicate his views legitimizes him in some way. And it doesn't matter how much the host makes fun of him, talks about how ridiculous it is, insults him, and all the other stuff. The propagandist doesn't care, because it still gives them a bigger platform.
Yes, it does.
And so that's what he's going on there for. And so his audience has expanded because he's had access to a little bit more mainstream, because the Overton window has shifted, and him talking about, you know, how Black people are subhuman and all this other stuff. All that stuff is kind of crossed over into the realm of acceptability in some degrees. I'm not saying it's socially acceptable now, you know, in terms of our social contract and all other stuff. I'm saying it's a little bit more accepted. The window has shifted. So the Overton window basically delineates what is considered acceptable discourse in a society of other people. And so it used to be you couldn't say fart on TV without getting your show pulled. The Overton window is shifted.
Yeah, like Married with Children got knocked off because they had way too many people complaining about, you know, Al and all the stuff that was going on that show.
Yeah.
But now if you like today, dude, that show would be like on Sesame Street.
Right.
Now, what are you talking about? There's nothing inappropriate nowadays, for the most part, about that show. We got shows mainstream that would put that one to shame.
Right. And that's what that's kind of for, I don't know if if there is another terminology for pop culture stuff, but that is kind of a window, and it falls within that Overton window about what is considered acceptable and what's not in society anymore. And so the entire lesson for entrepreneurs is, and for people that are trying to build a career on social media, the rage baiters, the people that spark outrage and piss people off, and that's how they grow their audience. You ain't got to be that. You just got to find the people that mess with you online. That's it. You got to find the people that mess with you online and speak to that audience and let them know that you exist. Let them know you're out there. We did the entire video a couple weeks ago with Tyler, the Creator, where you create you create the thing and then stand on your square and promote it to everybody that will listen. So, because you spent your blood, sweat, and tears creating it. So why try to hide it under a blanket? My mom used to say that to me all the time. As the ADHD kid, the nerdy Black kid, she would always say, "Stop hiding your light under a blanket." And And I ended up taking it to heart after she passed, but that's kind of the thing. A lot of times people have their viewpoint, they have their voice, they have the thing that they want to say, but they're so scared to show it to the public because they want celebrity, but they're scared of the celebrity, right? They want people to notice them, but they don't want people to notice them.
And again, I'm going back into the 5 things that I coach people on a lot of is going back into that C, which is clarity, which is confidence, which is comparison. When you start comparing, the reason why we compare ourselves to people, honestly, is because for the most part, we haven't accepted who we are. We've never set boundaries with other people or ourselves. And we've never actually built what clarity actually is. Clarity, for definition, starts within you. It isn't something that starts outside of you. It starts within you. So when you understand what your character is, where your integrity is, what principles you stand on, what your code of ethics is, your value system, all that stuff, that's where clarity is. So, so once you build that, your character, your clarity is like this big bright light that shines. And wherever you turn, that's what clarity is going to be. Now, it's almost like a key to a lock sometimes because I have this. And if I want this out there, my clarity is clicked on to this.
Right.
But what happens if that out there doesn't fit my key? I'm going to know that, nah, this ain't going to work for me. So that means I need to move to something else.
Right.
That's going to fit, align more with who and what I am. That's why we get that way. So one of the things I show people, and can I show you right quick?
Yeah, go for it. And I'm pulling up my video that I promised earlier too. So go ahead.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. Let me show you guys what I'm talking about with that, because this is something that my people know off top about me. Like, this is what we do. So here, let me go up. Okay, here we go. Let me share my screen. So this right here is what I'm talking about. This, and I wrote this July 22nd, which is my son's birthday, in 2018. I wrote out what the top 5 things that I loved about life were. Number 1, my kid, family, friends, stuff like that. But then I put reading, learning, teaching. These are the things that I wrote in there for myself, right? Staying solid in my principle and my character, right? I can't say that a lot of people stand on the same stuff that I stand on, but I know what I stand for, right? So those are my things, my top values. Now, underneath my values, I have this right here, which is my constitution or my principles or my code of ethics. This is what I stand on. So anytime I'm looking at something coming my direction, I use my value system, I use my constitution, I use my pledge to myself to judge whether or not this is going to work for me based on my value, constitution, code of ethics, and my personal mission statement. If it doesn't, I can't fuck with you. I was just talking to my best friend Jessica, and she was like, man, I had these people asking me all kinds of questions about my what am I going to do with my foster kids during this, that, and the other. These people all up in my business. She says, you know what? I told them, you know what? I don't even want the money. I'm cool. No, thank you. Take my name off your list. And she don't even know, and I need to tell her how fucking proud I am of her, because she chose her purpose over fucking profit.
Right.
She chose purpose over profit. That's what we talk about, having a fucking value system and a consistent constitution and a code of ethics to stand on. This is what I teach people constantly. So again, if we're talking about this stuff, these are the things that that we have to have on a consistent basis, right? So what was the question that we were talking about before? Because I just went on my fucking tangent and forgot.
I have no idea. So I'm gonna go through my notes and figure it out.
All right, so yeah, still going. What was you saying?
So, well, real quick. So I wanted to hit a couple of things here. We can
Okay.
learn. We can learn from the mistakes of these social media influencers, like the one that says, I have 1 million followers and I'm broke," or "I have 3 million followers and I'm broke." For businesses, entrepreneurs, even just individuals, you don't have to be a business or entrepreneur, but if you are active on social media and you're trying to build a following, have a business plan underneath it. Have some kind of strategy, whether you're marketing other people's products with affiliate marketing, you're selling your own products, you're selling your own services, whatever. Have that as an underpinning and leverage social media to create those outcomes for yourself. Okay.
Right.
And then as you grow, you build a team, you bring on accountants, you get legal help, you bring in business managers, because most of these social media gurus that you see that do actually have it like that, there's an entire team of people. Mr. Beast has a team of people.
Yes.
And that's what makes it pop.
All of them.
But all you need to do is really get laser focused in on what your purpose is and what you're offering the world, and then put a business around that piece of it. And be realistic. Being sustainable takes a while. And so you have to get your reps in to get good enough to get your messaging out there. Okay.
And I appreciate you telling me that too, dude, because again, I didn't, but I think that's kind of where I was kind of going with it. Is my objective is to put my stuff. I have a goal to do 100.
Mm-hmm.
I don't stop until that 100 is done. Now, once that 100 is done, I'm up to the fucking races to go sell this shit.
Yeah.
To put it out. And again, I could create more stuff all day long. But for me, it's putting up the work. That's the reason I haven't charged anybody nothing. I even attracted another lady who came and paid me thousands of dollars to work with her. And we're still working together, even now. And I kept telling her, "Man, this is free for right now. You don't have to pay me anything." Like, I'm trying to push, like, no, just show up, call me if you need me. I got you. No, I want to pay for this. Mm-hmm. It's too good for me not to. Fuck it. Cool.
Yeah.
Here's my thing, right? And I think that's where it has to be. But like I told you, and anything that comes into my purview, anything that comes into my ecosystem is met with value, met with code of conduct, met with mission statement, met with my rules of engagement.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I gotta write that down. Sorry.
Sorry.
Rules of engagement. I like that. That's deep. But again, though, that's, to me, it has to be,
So, and it has to be aligned. Like we were talking about, the whole thing is it in alignment with what you want? Yeah. And alignment is the key word. So to wrap up, have a business model. Don't just think that social media is going to make you famous, and don't feel bad if you see people out there doing it on social media in a way that you haven't reached yet, because you're not necessarily on the same path. You may be doing it for fun. You may be doing it for a small audience that engages with you. You don't have to have the big, huge audience to be successful. And stop trying to validate your success through what success looks like for other people. It ain't going to work. Okay. So a couple of things before I leave you with the CT Fletcher video. Okay. Fearless. Next week, we had a couple of different potential topics. Okay. We've already done the confidence gap. We already did burnout. We have pricing mistakes and how to fix them. And we can tie that to people, how they undervalue themselves chronically anyway, in business and in life. We've talked about the perfectionism trap, networking when you feel like an outsider. I feel like we can kind of skip that one, come back to it. The business of boundaries is interesting. How to set boundaries.
Perfect.
This one,
that's what I specialize in.
Let me ask you this one. How about when this one is when the vision changes, outgrowing your business? Because I've had to do that one recently. So I'm leaving it open-ended to you guys, and Fearless, we could talk about it. These are the couple of options that I have. I also have one, time management for the chronically distracted. That's one I've been doing on the Unstuck sessions for the last month. And so,
okay.
So it's whatever you're thinking, and whatever.
I like the outgrowing your vision.
Okay. So
because matter of fact, I'm gonna probably do something on that within the next couple of days, just because you said that. I love that.
So I think that'll be the next one. So for the future Brian and Fearless, we're going to do When the Vision Changes next week. Okay. All right. So I wanted to leave y'all with this CT Fletcher video. And it's only going to be the first part of it, but it's one of the most motivating videos I've ever seen in my life. If I could make it my alarm clock, I would. It would probably terrify my wife though. And so I'm gonna pull it up and get the whole thing ready to roll. And that's what I'll leave you with. And then me and Fearless are gonna sign off. So let me pull up the share screen. All right. One of my favorite videos of all time.
Fuck impossible. It's only impossible until some crazy ass motherfucker comes along and does that shit. Then it ain't impossible no fucking more. A man can't run a fucking mile in 4 minutes. It's fucking impossible. Until a motherfucker came along and did it in less than 4 minutes, it was fucking possible. There's no way that we can fly. Man cannot fly. It's fucking impossible to fly. Until Orwell and Wilbur said, fuck you, motherfucker. I think it's possible, and they fucking flew. Everything is fucking impossible until some motherfucker comes along and does that shit. Then it's no longer impossible. Be that motherfucker. Be the motherfucker that challenges impossible. Be the motherfucker that says, fuck you, I can do that shit. Sit your punk ass down and watch me. Be that motherfucker.
So that's what that's how I get motivated. That video hypes me up.
That is extremely intense.
Yeah.
Like, wow. Okay.
That video hypes me up because
I bet
a lot of times when we look at what's possible and what's not possible, we look at it through the frame of reference of what we've already experienced. And sometimes the thing that is out there existing, we haven't experienced it yet, but we've told ourselves that it's impossible because we've never done it or never even tried it, or nobody that we know has tried it. And more times than not, the things that seem impossible are only impossible till somebody actually does it. Now, if I'm saying I believe I can go spread my arms and take off and fly in defiance of gravity and everything else, that's impossible. But creating a new business model, doing something that nobody's ever done before, AI, language models getting to this point, that stuff was viewed as impossible. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know, because Isaac, what is his name? Asimov?
Yeah.
Or whatever. He's been talking about that. E.F. Forrester since the early 1900s. Actually, the late 1800s. He's been talking about this.
Well, I'm not talking about impossible to imagine. I'm talking about impossible to actually execute. Because a long time, when they first started this stuff, they're talking about it'll take quantum computing and all this other stuff that comes along. And we're doing it with GPUs, like we're doing it with NVIDIA GPUs and stuff. And now quantum computing is going to take it to another level, but it was viewed as having a machine that actually checks its own mistakes, like an AI agent. That's been viewed as impossible. Now I have a subscription to one. I have an AI agent. I have an AI that actually will reference itself and check itself for errors and bias. So what I'm saying is this: we base what's possible and impossible on our current frameworks. But sometimes you have to abandon your framework and dream. If it's something you really want, go get it. Create the path for you.
There's a guy right here. His name is Tim Tigner. Whatever. He's written several books. Whatever. I love reading his books because they all look the same way. This one is Twisted Lives. I haven't even started reading this one yet. Whatever. But this guy, most of his books is about mind-altering type of stuff. And they're all fiction or whatever, but they're really, really, really good.
Okay.
Really, just another book that I would suggest to people go grab if you are inclined to read something is When Time, what is it called? I think When Time Stops. Hold on one quick. Let me find it right quick. Hold on. What did I say? E.M. Forster, here he is. Hold on.
Mm-hmm.
And he wrote the book. Was there it is. Got it. Oh, please. All right, here it is. This book right here. The Machine Stops
Mm-hmm.
is what it's called. He wrote this, like, I think he wrote this book in like the late 1800s.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, hold on, let me see. Nope, sorry. He published it in 1909. But this book was so good. And the reason why I like this book is because it talks about what's happening today
Mm-hmm.
pertaining to like food being brought to your house, the way that we raise our kids, the way that we look at certain things, people not going outside anymore, everything being basically done on your computer or in a certain room inside of your house, business, school, all that stuff is done in the comfort of your own home.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's fat as fuck too, because you don't really get out. There is no vitamin D. There is no vitamin C. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody's all at home and stuff. But it's a really good book or whatever. And they basically, eventually, the machine stops, and people got to go outside.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to see the epic change, which I compare the change to COVID.
Yeah.
Where the world stopped for 1 year and some businesses died. Actually, a lot of them died. And then other business rose up and other sections of businesses were born out of that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like the food, like Grubhub, not Lyft, but Grubhub, DoorDash, Instacart, shit like that started because of, I don't know if it started because of him, but it flourished.
Right.
Because of COVID.
Well, and so
flourished.
I know, was it the Disney movie WALL-E was actually kind of referencing that society of human beings that have grown so immobile that they can't really do anything and have over reliance on machines and stuff. And it's just it's an interesting way to kind of frame it. I don't know if we'll ever reach a point. I don't know if we actually want fully autonomous machines. I don't think that's where, if we don't like fully autonomous. Here's the thing, and I'm gonna throw this out here, and then we can kind of wrap it up. If we don't like the action of what fully autonomous humans do, what are we going to think about what fully autonomous machines decide? There's also fully autonomous human beings that are sitting in prison right now for crimes against other fully autonomous human beings. What does that look like when we remove the human element out of everything we do? I don't know. It's kind of a scary thing.
And then not only that though, but that's that iRobot type of situation when you start, if you give AI, if you say, you're totally autonomous, do you, and create this sentient type of aura. I think it was Gary Vaynerchuk was talking about that, and he was like, dude, I believe that your great grandchildren, I think he said your grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
Your grandchildren. So my son's children are eventually going to get older and they're going to start marrying robots with AI capability.
Yeah.
And actually, I read a couple different books on that stuff. And we think that, like, nah, that's not going to happen. The fuck it's not.
That's crazy.
Because, dude, if you think about, like, those real dolls, a real doll machine is only anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000.
Mm-hmm.
And you can get any woman you want. Any woman. With the proportions and everything. Or whatever. It ain't going to take much to put that same concept and have an AI type of situation and sell that same thing for $10,000 or $20,000. And then eventually that $10,000 or $20,000 thing is going to be indistinguishable
right
from a human, and you're not going to know the difference between if this chick is AI or not.
Well, and I think
You're
that's
not gonna know.
and I think what I do think there's going to be another thing that actually where people value human interaction, actual human interaction more. And so it's gonna create a premium on human interaction. So we can go down this rabbit hole. I can sit there. We could talk.
I mean, yeah,
all this.
no,
Yeah.
but here's the thing though. The one thing that Gary Vee was saying was that he also believes that it's gonna help human interaction as well. Because
Okay.
I don't think that we'll take it for granted. Being around somebody who knows what it feels like to be human, who knows what it feels like to have those emotions,
Right.
because they are biologically human,
Okay.
as opposed to something that's just programmed to think, feel, taste, smell, all that stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whatever. So I don't know. Like I said, I can't wait to see what the future holds.
It's gonna be interesting.
I cannot wait. If God allows me to live like that, I would love to see what it's gonna look like.
All right.
Because I will be the first one to buy one. Just
So-
saying.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna sort out. I think what we said next week was going to
Especially
be
like one who could cook, clean, do laundry. Oh God, it's over. I'm telling you right now, the human race is going. I promise you, population control will be it. That's dunsies. I'm telling you, I know that there's going to be people who want to have kids, but I guarantee you, once that hits, I don't believe that there's going to be a whole lot of kids just out and about and people having kids willy-nilly. I don't believe that.
all right. Well,
I
we'll see.
don't.
We'll see what happens. Like I said, it's going to be interesting. We're going to see because we've seen pretty significant advancements in pretty short amount of time. So it's going to happen sooner rather than later, whatever the
Indeed.
destination is.
I
So
agree.
next week we're going to be back on talking about when the vision changes, outgrowing your own business. I got to get to running. I got to get across town. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Check out Fearless every night. We're on
8:30
8:30. It's free life coaching, y'all. There's
and
no,
training
and training. There's
and
no
Q&A.
get it while it's free.
Get it while it's free.
I still have my social media audits. Every conversation with me starts with an audit. I need to know where you are and where you're going and where your business is and where it's going relative to what your social media output is. So if you're looking for some clarity and looking to get unstuck, if you find yourself at an impasse, you know how to reach me. The link, it should be in the comments to book a session with me to sit down and kind of do a social media audit. And there's different tiers to the social media audit. I'm not going to get on to here. So that's what we got. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Brian and Fearless.
I mean, what's going on? You forgot my name?
Yeah.
Are you having a fucking stroke?
No, I'm actually loading up the exit stuff.
Okay, yeah.
I was trying to kick it over to you. It's Brian.
Yeah, and Fearless. So.
All right, we'll get to you. We'll get to y'all next week. Peace.